From the NLRPD to KTHV to behind the microphone, it's Scott Romine with Gwatney Unplugged.
Hi, welcome to Gwatney Unplugged. I'm your host, Scott Romine. I hope you're having an awesome Saturday. Our first guest on the show, I have been not able to sleep for a couple of weeks knowing this was going to happen. We've got Peter Cullen, who, of course, is the voice of Optimus Prime from all the Transformers cartoons and films. How are you, Peter?
Very good. Thank you, Scott.
Man, it's so good to hear from you. I wanted to ask you about something. How cool is it to be, you are extremely famous, yet you can still go to Walmart?
That's funny.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows Optimus Prime, you know?
Well, they do. Yeah, I've discovered that. And it happened slowly, of course. It didn't all happen at once. It took years and years before it actually registered that he was popular.
Oh, gosh, extremely.
Yeah.
I want to go back to before you got there to being Optimus Prime and all that. And did you have a huge interest in cartoons and doing voices as a kid?
Well, yeah. Yes, I did. A lot of people have interests, you know, when they're in their early years, grade school, for example, and mine were always centered around sounds, people, comedy. I was the classroom mimic, you know, and I got a lot of satisfaction about, well, I guess making people laugh would be the best way to term it.
Sure.
And to do that, it was always mimicking something, whether it was an animal or a person or a voice or a sound effect of some kind. And that stood for my entire life. You know, somebody said to me, you know, do what you're going to do in life, you should really love to do. I mean, you should concentrate on the things that make you happy and make a living at it, you know. So do what makes you happy. Don't resent doing something you don't want to do, and then bury the feelings that you have deep inside for something you love. So I pursued that at a very early age. It was implanted in me, and I never veered from it. I just was there constantly having fun and enjoying life, and, getting in trouble a lot too, by the way. So.
Well, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So
yeah.
I grew up loving Optimus Prime and He-Man and all these things. What was that for you? What cartoon characters were you trying to maybe imitate or something as a kid? What was your favorite?
Well, certainly to answer that, Scott, it would have to reflect the success of Optimus Prime and how that story plays out. And Optimus Prime, it's worldwide and has left an imprint on a lot of people's lives that I've come to understand and know. But in particular, the character of Optimus Prime was formed from my brother Larry. My older brother, Larry, 13 months older. And I tell this story often, certainly because it's true and it's very close to me. My brother passed away several years ago. He was a captain in the Marine Corps, served in Vietnam, and he was a hero. With his Purple Hearts, he also had a Bronze Star with V, and
wow,
he was always my hero and best friend. You know, we grew up together, doing things together. He was 6 inches taller, with red hair and hazel eyes, and here I am with 5'6", and with black hair and blue eyes. So. But we shared everything together in that Irish family unit, you know, the carrot top and walnut and peanut, they used to call it.
Sure.
You know. anyway, he was always my leader, inspiration, and the story goes as. I hope I'm not boring.
No, you're fine. I think you guys maybe lived together in California when you went to the tryout or something.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I've told this story so many times that it's just I still get that pit in my stomach. You know, I was going to the audition for the Transformers voice of Optimus Prime, and I had no idea what it was, Scott. It was told to me by my agent, you know, telling me where to go for the audition.
Sure.
And, so he said, "What's it for?" I asked. He said, "You're going to be a truck." I said, "A truck, okay." It's my brother, coincidentally, which is not unusual because I would go out and impersonate all kinds of things.
Sure.
You know, a car that couldn't get started in the morning, you know, with a battery that's going dead and stuff like that. I'd have to come up with a sound. But in this particular instance, when I was leaving our apartment that day, we were sharing an apartment in Burbank. And he said, "Pete, where are you going?" And I said, "Going to an audition for a truck." He said, "A truck?" He said, "What kind? What kind of a truck?" I said, "It's a big truck. I think it's an 18-wheeler. I'm not sure exactly." Sure. But he says, "Well, that's interesting. What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. He's a leader." And then he paused for a second. "Well, Peter, if you're going to be a leader, be a real leader. Don't be a Hollywood phony and pretender and all that crap. You know, be a real leader. You know, be strong enough to be gentle. You know, and don't go yelling and screaming and doing all that crap." And he said, "Leaders don't do that. You know, they're very generous and they care. And so just keep that in mind." And his voice had changed when he was describing it to me. And for some reason, when I was driving to the audition, I could hear his voice and how it had changed. He said, be a real leader. You know, don't go yelling and screaming."
Right.
And it kind of, so when I read for the part in this little tiny room with a microphone and the script on an easel, and I just started reading in that tone. And about 2 weeks later, I discovered that I got the part. So
was it kind of an impression of your brother?
It was. Well, we have similar range. You know, we can both be, you know, heavy baritones when we want to get down, you know, that kind of feeling.
Right.
But and so I was easy to impersonate him. I used to, as a matter of fact, on the telephone. I answered, "Hello? No, this is Larry."
So that's very cool that Optimus Prime is basically an impression of your brother. I mean, that's very, very cool. Now, I remember you also being the voice of Car, which was the bad guy Knight Rider Car.
Yeah.
And you did a couple episodes of that, I guess.
I did. I don't remember very much of it, but it was just a low voice, but menacing.
Yeah, I remember it well. I mean, it was life or death for me back in the 80s. the bad guy Knight Rider Car. Now, you also, at some point in time, were King Kong, correct?
I was, yeah. In the 80s, they came out with King Kong Lives. And I looked it up the other day, and, you know, not remembering it as a movie. I certainly didn't go and see it, but I saw enough of it when I was doing the 11 reels of King Kong and Mrs. Kong.
Oh, yeah.
They brought somebody else to do the baby, but I look back at that fiasco, and as I said, there were 11 reels.
It didn't win any Oscars.
No, it didn't.
Peter, you fought Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're the Predator.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the Predator. That's it.
Something like that.
And did you do, I know that some of the lines are Bill Duke's lines kind of like repeated, but Predator did say a few lines. I guess you did that part too?
Well, it was there was a little confusion when I went to that audition at 20th Century Fox because they wouldn't tell me what the Predator was. They wouldn't show me any pictures of him. And I said, well, what am I doing here? I said, I already told them I wasn't going to do any monsters or animals. I had just done King Kong, and I had been coughing up blood. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, if I can't see what I'm doing, I can't create a sound or a voice. So they relented finally, and they showed me a picture of him at the end of the film where he takes off this helmet, and it reminded me of an upside-down horseshoe crab when I was a kid. It was on the beach, and it was upside down, and bubbles were coming out of its opening, and they were popping sounds, making that kind of.
Which is just.
I can't do it right.
It's just so iconic. I mean, if you hear Darth Vader breathing, you know what that is. When you hear that Predator sound, you know it's the Predator.
I know it. It was kind of strange. Because I was just trying to save my voice. I didn't want to come up with any horrible sounds. And so that was the easiest thing to do, was that imitate the bursting bubbles coming from that horseshoe crab. But yeah, he's gone on to be duplicated many times by other movie companies doing the same Predator sounds.
So you didn't necessarily do the sound for the other Predator films?
Well, they lifted it from the original one, and they use it on all the other ones. But they don't tell you about that stuff. They just go ahead and do it. You have to get the union and your agents and stuff involved with that to get any justice. But
I got you.
Well, anyway.
Hey, so back when you were doing Transformers, you were also some voices on G.I. Joe. Were all those in the same studio, the same place?
Well, there was a director. His name was Wally Burr, and Wally did Transformers for Generation 1 back in the 80s, about the same time we were doing G.I. Joe. And it very possibly was the same studio. I know we had a couple that we used, but I can't remember their names. But,
really? Hey, I got to ask you this just as a fan. Do you have a room full of this Transformers stuff? You've probably been given tons of it over the years.
I have. Coincidentally, I just received 2 huge boxes from Hasbro Toys back in Providence, Rhode Island. And they blocked the front door. The boxes were so big, and I opened them up, and they're all kids' toys for my grandchildren.
That is awesome.
we had just come from the premiere of Bumblebee at the TCL Theater, which is the old Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
I know it well, with all the characters out front.
Yeah, and it was a really stupendous opening, and it was well received, and it's a great movie, and I recommend it to parents and their kids. It's general.
To me, it looks like what I wanted it to be from the start, where you're the original versions of the characters.
Yeah, they're getting back to the roots, which is timely and most timely.
It's perfect. I got to ask you, Peter, did you expect the backlash when Optimus Prime died in '86? That was a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time. I looked at it as there goes my paycheck, because it was you got used to a bunch of guys, for a couple of years, and going into the studio and having fun and frolicking and being funny, and then all of a sudden it comes to an end, but so does the paycheck. And I didn't realize how successful he had become, and I'm surprised that I was asked the first question I asked was, well, what did I do? It's the character not popular. I guess he sucks.
Yeah, it was the most popular character. It was a dumb thing to do, but It also steered the G.I. Joe movie in another direction because originally their main character was going to die in kind of a clone of the Transformer movie. And
Yeah, it all comes down to merchandising, I think. I'm not sure, but that's not my end of it. Those are the marketing guys. And
did you ever get a chance to suggest or maybe steer a storyline with Optimus Prime?
nah, not really. No,
No.
no, no. I just went with the flow. I never asked questions or had any. It was always very well written for me. I mean, they realized it from the very beginning that most of us had nailed our characters, and they just went with the flow.
When you
The
heard
shame.
when you heard Peter they were going to make a movie of Transformers, what did you think? Did you think you'd be involved from the start, or
Well, they killed me in the first one in 1986,
right?
and so it was. There was a lot of drama going on between those years, and I had no interest in it at all. After 1986, I just went on with my life, but paid no attention to it until the movies. They started talking about bringing Optimus Prime back, and you got to remember that's when the internet was starting to,
That's
form.
right. Yeah.
So, and the Generation One crowd, who I'm forever grateful to, they the ones that started the back talk on it, and that promoted itself all the way to the heads of Paramount and Hasbro, and they started realizing that I was a consideration, to the point where Michael Bay had called the agencies and said, get him in here to audition for the role again. So I had to audition for it all over again years later.
It had to be you. It just
Yeah.
it had to be you. I'm one of those G1 fans that felt that way.
Oh, I thank you for that, Scott. That's kind, and certainly the people that believed in me all the way back then. I just I love those. I love that crowd. They mean a lot to me, and we have something in common. And
I was blessed to be in that movie with you. Our mutual friend Corey Eubanks got me on the set, and I'm an extra in one of the scenes. So
that's fantastic.
that was kind of cool to be a Transformers fan
Right.
and all that stuff to end up in it. I want to ask you real quick about a guy that fans like me never got to meet, which is a guy named Chris Latta, I believe, who played, of course, Starscream and Cobra Commander. You had to have interacted with this guy. What was he like?
Intense. A very intense character. In real life as well. He very talented. But when he performed, there was a sense, an aura in the studio. The intensity would magnify.
Wow.
At least twice or three times as much, and he would work himself into a sweat doing his character. I got to let the cat out.
Optimus Prime letting the cat out.
See you
Watney
later.
Unplugged with Scott Romine. So cool to have Peter here with us on the show.
Thanks, Scott. But Chris was a great talent, and he was sorely missed when he decided to leave this planet.
Terrible.
Yeah, he didn't decide it. I'm sure it was certain nobody's intention to leave purposely, but it was a surprise to us that a man with so much energy and so much to give, was robbed so quickly in his life.
Wish I could have met him. I got a minute left. I want to ask you, do you remember ever getting to do something really fun or special for maybe a special needs fan or something where you called as Optimus Prime?
Oh, yeah. I had to Make-A-Wish Foundation is one of my, loves, and it's to see the effect that something you've done in your life can do to somebody else. That's something in my life I'll always be greatly respectful for, and appreciative of. It's getting around to the conclusion,
I can imagine getting a call from time would be a pretty huge deal.
It is fun. It's fun, and I'm blessed to have that opportunity. And certainly, it's a great gift, and I never forget that for a moment, and for the people that are responsible, including my brother Larry. So,
well, thank you so much. We've run out of time, but Peter, it's been great to talk to you. Do you mind giving us one quick line as Optimus Prime?
Autobots, transform and roll out.
Man, that's just so awesome. Thank you so much, Peter Cullen, Scott Romine with the Gwatney Unplugged. You guys have a great Saturday. We'll be right back after this.